Well, let's have a look now at the strategic situation on the ground in Ukraine. I'm joined by Air Marshal Edward Stringer.
Good afternoon.
Ed, thanks for being here. So just explain to us what exactly is going on in the south. Does Ukraine have the strategic ability to do what they're hoping to do?
Well, Zelensky's been quite clear that he's not going to talk about the tactical aims of this military operation. But they have been, at the strategic level, signalling now for weeks that they are going to take the initiative and move on to the offensive in the southern region of Ukraine. So what we're seeing now in this area, you can see to the north and west of the Dnieper River, which the Russians had taken, we can see the Ukrainian forces exerting a very comprehensive push across the whole territory. We've seen them accelerate their use of precision missiles and artillery on the remaining one or two significant lines of communication to further choke off any reinforcements or resupply to that force. And that is to make the Russian holding of that land pretty untenable. And clearly, one way or another, the Ukrainians are now hoping to force the Russians back across the Dnieper River because they no longer have the combat power to hold that territory.
And the south is a strategically important area anyway. How important do you think it is that Ukraine takes the initiative now, this moment, particularly before winter approaches?
Yes, that's a very good question. It's strategically important because of those main ports, strategically important to Ukraine, but also strategically important to Russia because Crimea has its only warm water port for the Black Sea Fleet in Sevastopol and also has some very major airfields, military bases and logistic hubs. But what Zelensky is trying to do is to make sure that he can demonstrate he can seize the initiative and he's not just reacting to a war that's being dictated by Russia. He wants to show that he can go on the offensive and therefore demonstrate principally to the West that Ukraine is capable of prevailing over Russia and therefore allow Western political leaders to continue to support him when times get tight with the economic crisis, with the price of gas, throughout the autumn into winter and maybe into next year. Also, if they do succeed in pushing the Russian forces out of the West Bank, then actually Ukrainian forces are now very much closer and within range of Crimea, which is going to pose a serious strategic military problem for Russia. So in both the military and political spheres, this would be a major success for Zelensky, would allow him to retain that political support.
And as we've been talking a lot about Mr. Gorbachev today, following his passing, one of President Putin's aims has been to rebuild the Soviet Union that Mr. Gorbachev lost. Do you think there's any chance he'll succeed?
Well, Putin is no Gorbachev. And actually, Gorbachev genuinely believed in the union of Soviet Socialist republics, and perestroika and glasnost were attempts to try and get it to work properly in a way perhaps that the Chinese arguably have been able to do. But of course, that led to the breakup of that Soviet Union. And to his great credit, Gorbachev did not use violence or force to keep the union together, even though the hardliners pressed him to do so. Putin is one of those hardliners. He has shown he is very willing to use force to subjugate territories, and I don't think he's trying to rebuild the Soviet Union. He is much more Tsarist. He's trying to rebuild the Russian Empire with a series of scared nations having to do his bidding. As he's only managed to take less than 20% of Ukraine at the moment after 6 months, I don't think he has much power left to do anything else, and therefore, yes, I think he is set to fail in that ambition.
Air Marshal Ed Stringer, thanks very much for that.
Thank you.